Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about pre-T concerns. So, like 6 to 8 years. That's how long it took me to decide really to do HRT even after I figured out that I was trans. And there's some reasons for that. So, why did it take me so fucking long to make up my mind? Well, I had a couple of major hangups, and I needed to work through those hangups before I felt comfortable being sure about what I wanted to do. Some of those hangups were like not like strictly like side effects, but like intentional side effects of testosterone. The biggest one was, in fact, ironically, because this is one that a lot of people want, hair growth. Guess it's kind of weird, but for me, body hair was a really big, like, I wouldn't go so far as to call it like a phobia, but it was a major squick for me for a really long time. Not just on myself, yes, on myself, but on other people too. Like, I didn't tell other people what to do with their bodies, but I was just sort of hyper aware of it, you know what I mean? It made me really uncomfortable, and that's on any gender, all people, cis, trans, whatever, guy, girl, body hair freaked me out. Which, as you can imagine, is kind of a problem if you're planning on going on testosterone. Because guess what that does? Permanently. And it took me a long time to get over that. Like, I recognized it as like an irrational sort of hang up, and I did a lot of soul searching to try and figure out why it bothered me so much. And the best I can come up with is just like social pressure linked to like internalized misogyny and that kind of thing, I guess. Like, it took it to the extreme. You know, not everyone obviously ends up developing that much of a hang up just because there's a lot of pressure on female perceived people to shave and things like that. But I definitely did. I developed a major hang up about it. It's been a really slow process, but I've made a lot of progress. But that was, you know, a big concern, and I wasn't ready to move forward with something like testosterone until I was sure I could handle it. Acne was the other thing I was really fucking scared of. I don't know if you've been able to pick up on it, but because the light is pretty bright, I tend to have scabs on my face, and that is because I compulsively pick at my skin. Specifically, I pick at unevenness. Fortunately, my skin has been pretty damn clear for the past couple of years, and I didn't have acne when I went through puberty. But I'm really worried about how I'm gonna handle having acne when I go on T. Like, I've seen videos where other guys who didn't have acne the first time around suddenly developed it when they went on T. And I know a big reason for that is that you get really oily in your face and stuff like that. That's still a concern for me. But at this point, it's kind of like, well, it only lasts for usually about a year, hopefully, and I can be proactive about it. Another one is the smell. Apparently you get really stinky. Your body scent like changes and you start sweating a lot more. And I like almost never sweat. And I don't get smelly very quickly. But again, hygiene is important and deodorant is important. If cis guys can get through puberty being stanky and not being super gross and can find a way to deal with it, so the fuck can I. What else? Hair loss. Ironic, right? Because hair gain was one of them. Yeah. I love my hair. My hair is really important to me. I know this is true for a lot of trans guys, but my hair is really dense and really thick and really soft and really, really healthy. And I'm afraid that when I go on T, it will change the texture and the quality of my hair. Because that is one of the things that sometimes happens, in addition to like the usual like male pattern baldness, which I'm worried about. I'm hoping, because I have my dad's hair and he's not balding at all and his hair is still really thick and dense. Hopefully it won't be a problem. What else? The hungry thing. And that also ties into like fat redistribution. The fat redistribution is something I want, but also something I'm worried about. On the one hand, it'll hopefully like move things into a more masculine body pattern, but on the other hand, part of that involves like moving fat to your stomach, which stresses me out. And tying into that, the whole getting hungry thing is like trigger warning for disordered eating. I do not have a eating disorder. I do have disordered eating in the sense that I have pretty severe ADHD and I tend to forget to eat. I eat when I'm hungry, but oftentimes I will be so focused on doing certain things, or I will keep getting distracted, alternatively, by other things that I just don't get hungry and I completely forget, and it's the end of the day and then I realize I haven't eaten all day. So I tend to only eat once a day. I'm really worried that if I'm suddenly hungry all the time and I'm eating all the time, then I will gain a lot of weight quickly, which is something that freaks me out. I need to take better care of myself. I keep saying that, but it remains true. I need to eat better anyway. I need to eat more than once a day anyway, and I'm trying to use HRT as like a final like kick in the butt to really emphasize how important that is. One that I didn't talk about yet. Needles. I used to have to self-inject every other week for a different situation with a different medication, and I hated it. Like, I hated it a lot. It sucked. And the idea of having to do testosterone for the rest of my life every week with a needle injection was really, really off-putting to me. But this was also years ago, and things have advanced a lot since then. Like, it's only been like 6 to 8 years, and like these days we have stuff like pills and gels and stuff like that. Hell, I think there's even like a nasal spray. You're not stuck with just injections if that's a major hang up for you, and you can also get someone else to inject it for you. You don't have to do it yourself. For me, I'm okay with it at this point. I'm okay with injecting myself with it. Hopefully, we'll see. I may end up hating it just as much once I'm actually doing it, because it's a lot easier to be like, oh, it'll be fine, I don't mind anymore, than it is to like actually do it and deal with it. So we'll see how that goes. But even if I find that I can't handle the injections, like I said, now there's alternatives. Another thing that was a hang up that still a little bit is the anger thing. I'm really concerned about how tea will affect my temper, because I have a serious temper and I've gotten a lot better at cooling myself off these days than I was when I was a teenager. I had a real anger problem, and I'm really concerned that tea is going to make that a lot harder to control again, especially in my job, because it's a very stressful job and I have to deal with a lot of unpleasant people. I'm very good at controlling my temper at this point, but I don't know if that's going to change if I'm on tea and it makes me feel more aggressive. You know what I mean? I just gotta have faith in myself, and that all of the coping mechanisms that I've taught myself are still gonna work. Semi-related to that, one of the big things that freaked me out when I first started considering tea was some stuff that some like trans people told me back then, which was like, HRT will totally change your personality. And that freaked me out. The idea that something could change me and my interests and my personality that much was really scary to me. I like who I am, more or less, most of the time. And I didn't want to end up doing something that was going to change who I am. Transitioning isn't supposed to be about changing who you are. It's just supposed to be about becoming who you are, if you will. So that put a lot of fear into me that it was going to do that. And yeah, it does like heighten your aggression and stuff like that. But it's not going to change you as a person. HRT doesn't change your personality. Your personality may change on its own, because people change. People's interests change. Their desires change, and that's okay. Change is healthy. Blaming it on something like HRT may feel like an easy way out and an easy way to explain it, but I feel like that can also cause people like me, who haven't experienced HRT, a lot of anxiety about, you know, the uncertainty of that potential change. So those were my major hang-ups, and that's one of the reasons it's taken me so long to finally move forward. I'm gonna do another video about body dysmorphia and self-image and self-objectification and the trans narrative, at least in terms of how it's affected me and how it's impacted my body image and my relationships and things like that. But for now, I think this one's good, or at least this one's over. I hope this was helpful. If you've got any similar concerns, or if you had similar concerns and now you're on tea and you're like, oh, this is no big deal, or if you're considering HRT and you've got questions or worries specifically that you want to hear someone talk about once I start tea, or if you just want to talk, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you around.